A humanitarian rescue boat carrying 60 migrants rescued off Libya is finally allowed to dock in Barcelona. As Americans mark the July 4th Independence Day holiday, a divided country celebrates a vibrant democracy that at times is under strain. And a famous artificial intelligence humanoid robot wows visitors at an International Communications and Technology Expo in Ethiopia. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. We begin tonight's broadcast with one of European Union's biggest headaches, the continued mass migration of refugees across the Mediterranean Sea. The humanitarian boat Open Arms, operated by the Spanish Proactiva Open Arms charity and carrying 60 migrants, arrived at the port of Barcelona Wednesday after being denied safe port by Italy and Malta. The charity says the migrants on board the boat, who were picked up on June the 30th, included 5 women and 4 children of various nationalities, including Guineans, Palestinians and Syrians. Migrants aboard the ship were seen applauding and celebrating as the ship approached the Barcelona harbor. More than 650,000 migrants have come ashore in Italy since 2014, mostly after being rescued at sea off the Libyan coast by private and public groups. Italy is sheltering about 170,000, but the number of arrivals has significantly dropped this year. Zimbabwean police have reportedly arrested 2 suspects in connection with a bomb blast that killed 2 people and injured 47 others at a campaign rally for President Emmerson Mnangagwa last month. According to local newspapers, including the state-owned Herald, police are searching for other suspects. The privately owned Newsday newspaper says the suspects are being released. Police were not immediately available for comment. Last month, Mnangagwa told international media he believes the attack was carried out by the so-called G40 group, a faction inside the ruling ZANU-PF party loyal to former First Lady Grace Mugabe. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe's military says it will remain neutral in the upcoming elections scheduled for July the 30th, dismissing suggestions that troops might be deployed to influence the vote.
Our role in the elections is mainly to support the Zimbabwe Republic Police in their role of maintenance of law and order in the country before, during, and after the harmonized elections. Falsehoods that have been reported include allegations of the ZDF deployments in rural areas to intimidate villagers so that they support a certain political party to enhance that party's chances of winning in the 2018 harmonized elections.
Well, the military is under close scrutiny following its brief takeover of the country in November that led to the then President Robert Mugabe's resignation. President Emmerson Mnangagwa, 75, has pledged to hold free and fair elections as he seeks to mend international relations. Violence in southern Ethiopia since June has forced more than 800,000 people to flee their homes. The United Nations and the Ethiopian government said Wednesday the inter-ethnic violence erupted in April, around 400 kilometers south of the capital. More than 1.2 million people have since been forced to flee and are now in need of food and other aid. Traditional leaders encouraged people to return to their homes after the initial fighting in April, but many fled again in June. Ethiopia is a diverse country of 100 million people, and ethnic discontent helped fuel protests that led to the resignation of former Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn in February. In the United States, the July 4th Independence Day holiday holds a special place in the hearts of Americans. All across the country, citizens traditionally gather for picnics and fireworks on the 4th of July to celebrate the country's birth in 1776 and to reaffirm the vibrancy of U.S. democracy. But in recent years, democracy has increasingly come under strain in a politically polarized country. VOA's Jim Malone has more from Washington.
Nothing brings Americans together like fireworks on the 4th of July. It's a time for the country to catch its collective breath and reflect on the democratic ideals upon which it was founded. Those ideals have turned to action in the streets in recent days, including immigration protests that drew thousands around the country.
No fear! Immigrants are welcome here!
The upcoming battle to replace retiring Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy also has heightened divisions. Both parties are energized, including Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts.
People are rising up. Donald Trump is not king. No one makes it to the Supreme Court without going through the United States Senate.
Trump supporters have also been vocal of late, enthusiastically standing with a president who vowed to disrupt Washington and restore America's greatness.
We're bringing back our pride, we're bringing back our jobs, we're bringing back our wealth. And for the citizens of this great land, we're bringing back our beautiful American dreams.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Political differences have sharpened during Trump's presidency, and that includes scrutiny of the ongoing Russia probe led by special counsel Robert Mueller. Polls show most Americans support the investigation, but many Republicans, like Congressman Trey Gowdy, see it as divisive.
Whatever you got, finish it the hell up, because this country is being torn apart.
The political divisions in the country are real, and so at times is the fear, says historian Alan Lichtman.
People feel like they are being written out of America simply because of their political beliefs, their gender, their race, their religion, and really we haven't had that for quite some time in modern America.
Thank you, South Carolina.
Because of the intense loyalty and opposition that Trump generates, the president has come to symbolize the widening political divide, says Gallup pollster Frank Newport.
Trump himself is very polarizing. The public is very polarized. They're worried about the government, worried about long-term economic strength with the change with artificial intelligence and everything that's going on. So his great economic success on a relative basis has not been translated into personal approval or overall satisfaction.
For the most part, Americans like to set politics aside on the 4th of July and celebrate democracy. But many worry that the sharp political divisions on display daily make it harder to find common ground in a country where democracy is vibrant, but also under strain. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
Yenny Gonzalez, a Guatemalan mother detained and separated from her 3 children after she crossed the border into the U.S. without the required documents, has been released. She traveled to New York by bus from Arizona to be reunited with her children. In this report, reporter Celia Mendoza takes us to the reunion between mother and children.
It was a moment filled with excitement and gratitude for those who made it possible.
Happy to see me.
Happy to see me. When they saw me, they hugged me. They cried and they said they want me to take them away soon.
Jenny Gonzalez, reunited with her 3 children, spent an entire day with them at the Cayuga Care Center where they were sent after being detained and separated at the southern border of the United States. But according to Gonzalez's lawyer, the legal process established by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services means a permanent reunion could take days or even weeks. But 3,800 kilometers away from the Immigration Detention Center in Eloy, Arizona, Gonzalez was able to fulfill her promise.
I told them, I promise you that I will fight for you and I will come looking for you. And I kneeled as I hugged them. I kneeled down and hugged the 3 of them. And I told them that I was going to return to get them. And here I am.
Gonzalez's lawyer, Jose Orechana, described the encounter between the mother and her 3 children after 47 days apart.
It was very emotional when they finally saw their mother. But now, what is going to happen at the end of the day? When their mother has to say, "Sorry, son, sorry, daughter, I have to go, and you have to stay."
Orechana says Gonzalez's relatives in North Carolina already have a pending custody petition for the children, and he will submit another for the mother. But first, they need Gonzalez's fingerprints from the Arizona Detention Center to verify that she doesn't have a criminal record.
En este momento estamos pidiendo a Cayuga que obtenga las huellas digitales.
Hopefully, they can use that. Otherwise, it will take 2 months if they have to get her fingerprints and wait for results. That would be too much waiting.
The Trump administration says it is working on ways to reunite the more than 2,000 separated children with their parents. But exactly how is not yet clear. Celia Mendoza, VOA News, New York.
Well, when it comes to immigration, U.S. lawmakers have strong opposition views on this topic. The U.S. Attorney General even quoted the Bible as a reason for tougher immigration policies. Even though the Bible is where leaders within the Christian faith find answers, their views on immigration are just as diverse. VOA's Elizabeth Lee reports from Los Angeles.
In the City of Angels, how Christians worship God is as diverse as their background and their views on immigration.
I have family that are not documented too, so it's a personal thing for me.
Hallelujah. Lovi Longomba was born in Kenya of Congolese parents. He is the pastor of a non-denominational Protestant church made up of immigrants from around the world.
I think that what we need to do is to find ways to help those who are in need in ways that actually it protects the people in the country also. I think it's not wise to try to save the world while your own house is drowning.
Longomba says the U.S. needs to have a better way of screening people who want to enter the country.
That's why the Bible talks about discernment, the ability to know, okay, who is this? What is it really that they want? You know, because you can be compassionate in a foolish way.
In the Byzantine Latino quarter of Los Angeles, immigrants from Latin America and Greece worship in neighboring churches.
I'm a legal immigrant from Greece with my family. We waited 3 years and we were sponsored here. This is ages ago. And so we came through the process. It was difficult.
John Bacchus, a Greek Orthodox priest, sees a distinction between legal and illegal immigrants.
You hear people saying we're against immigrants. No, 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 no. Many of our congregation are immigrants. The point being is that they need to be legal immigrants.
Bacchus says without laws, there would be anarchy.
Is Christian love and compassion meaning abdicating some order, some control? Jesus said to love your neighbor, but he wasn't meaning someone from 3,000 miles away. He was talking in the context of the tribal unit.
But Francisco Garcia, an Episcopal priest and the son of an undocumented immigrant from Mexico, says the U.S. can and should help everyone in need.
As a nation, we could be that place that really does say, welcome, and we will do everything that we can to welcome you and to help you, because I think it's our humanity. We need to sort of cooperate amongst nations, but with the spirit and the ethic of understanding why people migrate.
Garcia does not like the terms legal and illegal immigration.
I don't necessarily make those distinctions that people make, because I understand that it is very difficult. You know, people like to say, well, you got to get in line, you got to do this, and if you just followed the right pathways, you would get this. That works for a small percentage of people. In reality, for most, it doesn't work.
Longomba says the answer to the immigration question is to view the issue from a different perspective.
Putting yourself in your neighbor's shoe is the greatest answer to a lot of the things that we are going through, because there will be a true sense of patience. There will be a true sense of understanding.
And with the understanding that people's views on immigration are largely dependent on their own personal experience. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News, Los Angeles.
Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Well, find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Still to come on Africa 54. A famous robot causes a sensation in Addis Ababa. But first, a look at Wednesday's headlines.
role in the elections is mainly to support the Zimbabwe Republic Police. In this case, we did not fail because we were not consulted.
We don't get you through WhatsApp, but we get directly from you.
But before you go,
Now, next.
The year 1968 was a time of great social and political upheaval in America. Coincidentally, the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery in Washington also opened to the public that year. To celebrate its 50th anniversary, the museum is presenting a time capsule of that important period and the cultural icons who shaped it. Viewers Julie Tabo has more.
A one-room exhibit at the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery packs a lot of history into a small amount of space. 1 year, 1968, An American Odyssey, offers 30 images that represent a tumultuous time in American history.
This is a year when we get two assassinations. We, of course, have the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and then later Senator Bobby Kennedy. America is in Vietnam and it is not going well. President Lyndon Baines Johnson was having very bad approval ratings, and he announces that he's not going to rerun for the presidency.
Museum director Kim Sayed believes there are many parallels between 1968 and today, especially where the political merges into the cultural.
So, for example, there is a very dramatic cover that was put on Time magazine in June to describe a story that they were doing about the gun in America, and it's very confrontational because a gun is literally pointed at you, the reader, viewer. This is, of course, a conversation that continues in America today. We also see Shirley Ann Chisholm, the first African-American woman who is elected to the House of Representatives. We continue to have conversations about our electoral process and how women in politics are faring.
There's also the iconic photograph of Tommie Smith and John Carlos, who each raised a single-gloved fist on the medal platform at the Summer Olympics in Mexico City to protest racial inequality.
So whether it's Me Too or the Black Lives Matter, there was a sense at that time that I think we can see now of young people stepping forward and saying, we want something different, we want to change, we want to be part of the conversation, and I think that is tremendously interesting.
The exhibit offers representations of great cultural icons as well, such as American football luminary Vince Lombardi, figure skating champion Peggy Fleming, and tennis great Arthur Ashe. Musical giants also made headlines that year, including Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin.
Janis Joplin takes up the left side of that photograph, and Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead are on the right of that. So Irving Penn, who was a tremendously known popular photographer at the time, he managed to get these 10 band members, two different groups, together for the iconic photograph.
And there were the movie stars.
Funny Girl with Barbra Streisand. She'll win an Academy Award for that. There's a full-length poster of Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier was called the Martin Luther King of the movies. He had that humility, if you will.
1968 also gave us Apollo 8, the first manned mission to orbit the moon, providing a never-before-seen view of the Earth.
This is a moment, I think, when suddenly not just America but the world realizes how small we are. We're all on this little marble, the little blue marble, and it is the start of really thinking about international cooperation.
That historic space mission brought a more hopeful note at the end of one of the most turbulent years in American history.
I want people to recognize that history is an arc, that what you do matters. So whether you protest or you vote or you're an athlete, and you know, there are all sorts of leitmotifs and stories in this year, in this exhibition, that apply very much to people today.
Julie Tabo, VOA News, Washington.
Well, Sophia, one of the world's most advanced and perhaps most famous artificial intelligence humanoid robots, was a big hit at this year's Information and Communications Technology International Expo in Ethiopia. Visitors, including various dignitaries, were excited to meet the lifelike robot as she communicated with the expo guests and expressed a wide range of facial expressions. Here's VOA's Mariama Diallo.
All decked out in Ethiopian attire, Sophia was all smiles when she posed for cameras at the ICT International Expo in Addis Ababa. And the crowds couldn't get enough of the android.
It is a great pleasure to finally be visiting Ethiopia.
Sophia was designed to look like British actress Audrey Hepburn, complete with a slender nose, high cheekbones, and an intriguing smile.
Sophia has her own character, right? So what we're planning to do is build a new character, which has Ethiopian flavors, Ethiopian philosophies.
Sophia, who was originally designed to speak English, has been programmed to speak a second language, Amharic, Ethiopia's official language.
In the first phase, we're trying to add more robust text-to-speech and speech-to-text recognition, because when you talk to her, she has to hear you and reply back from a set of responses.
Some initially had mixed feelings about AI, but that changed after hearing what one of the world's most advanced androids had to say.
I was really excited because, it's like a big deal for Ethiopia, but I was really nervous because I'm scared of her, basically, and artificial intelligence. But when she started talking, she was saying that, she wanted to help humanity, and she was saying that, artificial intelligence is a good thing. So I thought that speech was really good.
Sophia was activated about 3 years ago and made headlines last year when she became the first robot to receive official citizenship from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Given the response from her fans here, could Ethiopia be next? Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Welcome back to Africa 54. And here's what's trending. Japanese online fashion retailer Zozo is expanding its offer of made-to-measure clothes using skin-tight bodysuits, which help customers upload their measurements online. The company sees the future of online fashion retail in bespoke services and has set up a made-to-measure service using the bodysuit called the Zozo suit. By photographing themselves wearing the skin-tight polka-dot Zozo suit, users can upload their body measurements to ensure a perfect fit for the clothes that they order. Coming soon, business suits and formal shirts. Well, next up, French President Emmanuel Macron visited a nightclub on Tuesday founded by legendary Nigerian musician and activist Fela Kuti. The club is called the New Africa Shrine. Macron announced there that his country would be hosting a series of events aimed at African artists next year. Fela Kuti was jailed dozens of times in the 1970s and 80s for his songs criticizing the military rulers of the time. He was also famed for his sexual exploits and cannabis use. The club is now run by his two sons. Well, and finally, Swedish researchers are creating a virtual reality 3D model of the Milky Way and say their research could also potentially allow surgeons to work together in medical examinations despite being on separate continents. The team will use data from more than 1 billion stars to develop an interactive galaxy model. In separate research, the team have developed VR-based programs to open up understanding of the stem cells that give rise to other blood cells. The astrophysics team hopes to make its Milky Way model available this year, and that's what's trending today. Now, Egyptian artist Mai Ali Mnada depicts nature and animals and turns blank wooden canvas into meticulously crafted works of art using a wood-burning pen. But as this report from Channels TV Nigeria explains, the trickiest part is that there is no room for error. Mistakes cannot be erased or fixed.
Egyptian artist and assistant professor Mai Ali Nada
does not need a wide color palette to create her striking portraits and sketches. Nada draws people and depicts nature and animals with a single tool, a wood burning pen, an art technique called pyrography. The wood burner, powered by electricity, heats up and burns the wood in canvas, creating different shades of brown, all controlled by the artist using it.
There are substantial differences between burning wood and painting with oil. In oil paintings, you start with the whole canvas and then walk your way down to the details without any specific order. But with wood burning, you have to work one section at a time with all of its details, because there is no room for errors, as any mistake made cannot be erased or fixed.
Nada says her love for art had been since childhood, and starting at a young age, she spent many years painting on various materials. It also influenced her choice of study, although she only discovered drawing by burning wood after graduating. Now, with a little over 6 years of practicing this type of art, Nada believes the technique should be taught at art schools because of its raw and natural undertones.
I believe that expression can be much stronger without the use of color, as opposed to what is commonly known, that colors increase expression. You can use higher tones, use light and shades to increase the expressive nature of a portrait using monochromatic shades.
Although it seems simple, Nada says burning wood is not as easy as it looks. According to her, one portrait can take up to 5 months to complete, as each meticulous dot on the wooden slab needs to be carefully placed. The darker the color tone, the more time it will take her.
Up until today, when people ask me for portraits made by wood burning, it's difficult for me to oblige, and I do not sell my work. When a portrait takes up to 5 months to make, I become too attached to it.
Nada sells some of her artwork except for the pieces she creates by burning wood, because she grows too attached by the time she completes them.
Well, and that's our show. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Today's episode won't cost you anything.
Freebie.
Let's see what this one is about.
Anna, I love my job.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
I get so many freebies from the bands I write about. CDs, t-shirts, water bottles, even tickets to see them perform.
Wow. The only freebie I ever got from my